Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast history. I'm Bill Caskey.
Bryan Neal over here.
And we are delighted you're here, as we are every week. We're especially delighted this week because it's a new week, and we remain delighted this week. So we are glad you're here. If you are new to the podcast, you can go to advancedsellingpodcast.com. There's plenty of stuff there. I think we have top 25 episodes of all time. And I was on a podcast the other day, and he said, you've been doing this since what, 2018? And I'm like, try 2006. He goes, 2006? I said, yeah, before it was really a thing.
It was before it was a thing. I had this isn't the story I was going to tell you, but I did have a guy hit me up on LinkedIn. You never know. This is a tangent, but people send you notes on LinkedIn. And I hate this because we're our own worst enemies. Salespeople are, and marketers. We're our own worst enemies. You get all these DMs like, Bill, I'm really excited about what you're doing over at Caskey. I'd really love to connect and learn how we could help each other. Yeah. And everyone's trying these tactics and things. This guy's, I'm like, I think he's got a CRO in his title, whatever. But he goes, hey, Bryan, going to take a listen to your podcast. What's your favorite episode? That was his line. I'm like, okay, is this automated marketing? Either way, I was in a good mood. I'm like, don't care. My favorite episode is when I interviewed my daughter, Anna, and I happened to be going to her college graduation that day. So I was a little like emotional anyway. I go, it's episode, I don't remember the number, what it was, but it was like August 3rd from August 30th, 2010. Bryan interviews his favorite salesperson ever. And Anna was in third grade selling Girl Scout cookies.
Right, I remember that.
And she just graduated from college on Saturday. So it's crazy, isn't it? So, but it's just amazing I was going back in the archives that, we've been doing this for a long freaking time. It's like to my kids and your kids, you get grandkids, all of it happened.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the podcast was going on, you know what I mean?
And someday we'll still be doing it, and your daughter will have kids, great grandkids.
I'll have my granddaughter play a little sing a song.
That's right. Every YouTube channel.
In the spirit, that's actually a good segue to my story, in the spirit of the longevity of the podcast. So I started a sales process with a prospective client last year in the fall, worked through it throughout the into the winter time, and got contract to start work this January. Started the work, great company, lots of growth opportunity, great ownership. Hired a new sales leader, a boomerang sales leader, someone who had been at the company, left, and came back to be the chief revenue officer. He's getting certified in our system. He was in our office for 3 days. It was the first time I talked to him on the phone a few times, saw him on LinkedIn and stuff, but first time he was in our midst. So it was 3 full days in our office, talking, training, coaching, practicing with some other people getting certified in our system. We have a graduation dinner. We're at the graduation dinner Thursday after 3 days together. And you know how you just talk. We're at dinner. He says, Steph, my wife's with us. And she says, he goes, what else you guys do? She goes, well, Bryan also has a podcast. He goes, what is it called? She's like, the Advanced Selling Podcast. He goes, the Caskey Podcast? And she goes, well, it's with Bill Caskey. He goes, no, the Caskey. I listen to the Caskey podcast. I've been listening to that for 5 years. He's on that podcast. I'm like, that's our podcast. It's not Caskey's podcast. It's both of our podcasts. He goes, no, man, I didn't know you were on there. I'm like, yeah. He pulls it up. He's been listening forever. He didn't realize it was me. Isn't that funny? So, Bill, you're famous. You carry us. I just got to say
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I mean, for him to not recognize your voice.
Funny. Isn't that funny?
If nothing else.
Yeah. It was just really, really funny. And he's like, dude, now he had stopped because he used to listen to it. He said it's so funny how people have their habits, right? He used to drive on the road to Cincinnati and back. And he goes, I listened every day. And he still didn't put it together that I was in there.
Yeah.
So, but I'm over it now. It's fine.
Are you over it? How long did it take you to get over it?
I love that he called it the Caskey Podcast. And I'm like, so I know you have your own podcast. I'm like, is it this one? Like, no, which was yours.
Right.
I'm like, no, it's that.
It was ours.
I'm like, no, that's it. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. It's so funny though, isn't it?
Okay. So, that would break my heart if
that was
the opposite. So.
Yeah, exactly. You should make your heart swell.
So a couple things. I have, we all listen to great speakers and great trainers, and we've always heard the saying that it's the quality of your questions that determine the quality of your answer and the quality of your life. And we really haven't done an episode on what are the top questions that we should be asking ourselves. We've done it on what questions should we be asking prospects in the process, but I think there's a whole different level of question that we should be asking ourselves, or a coach should be asking you. And if you don't have a coach, then at least self-administer these. And the more rigorously honest you can be about these, I think the better. So I've got a few. I figured you probably had a few. We'll just call them self-reflective questions that we should be paying attention to as we grow and prosper.
Love it. Yeah, these would be questions because when we first teed the topic up in our 4-hour prep session today, I wanted to verify these are questions to ask yourself. These are examination questions. These aren't questions to ask a prospect, because I first started thinking about this in that realm, and it's not that at all.
Yeah.
These are very self-reflective to dig into it. And it was very interesting that you brought that up, Bill, because I did have a little bout of these actually with that client that I just told you about.
Oh, really?
Because it's new, and when things are new, I'm observing new things, and I'm asking. It's funny you say that. I'm asking the questions the coach should be asking. I'm like, why isn't this happening? Why is it that? Why are we doing? Why is this thing? So.
You mean you're asking him those questions?
No, not him. Just myself. Myself.
Okay.
Myself. I'm self-reflecting, and so I'm loaded. Good point.
Yeah. So I'll start. I'll just. I've got 4 or 5 here, and we don't have to have 10. But if we come up with 4 or 5, I think that would be good. Here's my number one, and this is a question that I ask when I start coaching either a team or people. Usually, it's an individual thing, and that is, why are you here? Why are you here? Meaning not why are you in training today, but a little bit broader question. Why are you here on this planet, and how does what you're doing sync up with that? So, because we all spend a lot of time in our careers, let's just say 2,000, 2,400 hours a year in our profession. And so it's my belief that had better have some overlap with why you're here on the planet, because you're devoting a hell of a lot of time to your job.
Yeah.
And so shouldn't it connect in some way? And some professions, I think it's hard to make that connection. With your and my profession, it's not. It's a little bit easier because the nature of what we do is kind of, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't care about, helping people and growing people. But that would be a question I would ask myself am I clear about why I'm here and what my divine assignment or God's purpose or purpose in general is? And does it sync up at all with what I do?
Yeah, that's deep. That's deep for the sales team. Sales team's going to go, wait a second. I thought we were doing objection handling today. You're going to ask me why I'm here on the planet? Huh? What?
Well, but why do you think that? Why does it matter? I'm not trying to challenge you here, but why does it matter?
I'm just telling you, it's deep. It's a deep thing. And that's what people don't go deep on this stuff. I just finished certification 3 days worth, and I kept telling them over and over, these guiding principles where the action is. The guiding principles, the stuff on the inside is where the action is. And I use proof points. You can tell someone, Bill and I, we could tell you all day, every day what to do and what to say all day. You could do it. And then I could stick you in front of your biggest prospect, the CEO, in a room in front of their board, and you would panic. Mm-hmm. You would absolutely panic. And it has nothing to do with what to do or what to say. It has everything to do with how you feel on the inside.
That's right.
You would panic. You would panic.
I think this whole idea of why we're here, and I imagine it's like a wheel. We want to grow. We want to make more money, have more success, have more joy. And I think the more tension there is between why we're here on planet Earth and why we're here in this business, I think it stops flow. It stops the money flow. And if we're in sync, it doesn't have to overlap 100%. But if we're in sync and they're moving together, I think that allows wealth and money and success, however you define that, to show up easier.
100%. 100%. Remember, I don't know if you remember Breakfast Club. Anthony Michael Hall's character's name is Bryan Johnson. The exercise in Breakfast Club was, who are you? They had to write an essay on who are you. And Bryan Johnson, Anthony Michael Hall, the geek, he wrote everybody's essay, who are you? And he kept saying, who are you? Who am I? Who are you? It was very fun. She brought that back. Okay, here's mine. I think you should ask yourself, where is my ceiling? Where is my ceiling? This group I just started with, this happens all the time. And this is so funny. It happens all the time. You go into any room of salespeople. Now, 98% of the salespeople you and I work with, Bill, have a variable compensation element to their comp. There's a variable part. And in 98% have a variable comp. And in 90% of the 98%, there is no cap on the variability.
True.
And with the CEO in the room, and I look at the CEO and I say, see, I did this last week. I said, CEO, is there a variable or is there a cap on the commission? And the CEO says in front of the entire sales team, there is none. There is none. There is no cap. Therefore, we are limited strictly by our own ceiling. We are. And then our brain instantly turns external the moment I say that to yeah, but. And it goes external. Well, yeah, but the market. Well, yeah, but the product. Well, yeah, but the. And you're looking in the wrong spot. You got to find your own mental ceiling. So the question you ask yourself is, what is my own ceiling? And we all have it. We've all got a ceiling. And we've had multiple ceilings in our lives. And a lot of us have broken through ceilings. And then we hit our head on a new ceiling. And we're hitting our head on our current ceiling. All of us are. Everybody. Elon Musk is. They have the ceiling. Warren Buffett is. Everybody is. It's a ceiling. It's not a good or bad thing. It just is. So you ask yourself, what is my ceiling? And you can't really start to break through the ceiling until you start to identify what it is. And
I'm hearing some feedback here. Are you?
No, none.
So is it fair to say then, based on your comment, that the ceiling is where you are now?
It could be. It could also be sometimes what people do is they hit their head on the ceiling and bounce back.
And then bounce lower.
Back and back and back. So I go to, I'll use easy math. I make 200 grand. Then the next year I make 180. Then I make 204. Then I make 175. Then I make 200. So the 200 is the ceiling. And I just can't get through there. And I just can't break through it. And so why isn't that person making 400 grand? And meanwhile, they're sitting next to someone who is.
Yeah. So it's self-imposed.
Self-imposed always. You have to look at that. You have to look at that. If you can't lose weight, like, well, I was born this way, genetics, Bill. Well, it's just how I am. Well, I'm getting older, Bill. It's hard to move these days. I'm getting older. It's hard. No, there's something inside myself that it's whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. It's net worth. It's a relationship. It's anything.
That's good. Okay. So my second one is a distant cousin to that one, I think. And that is, and you're identifying the block to my question, which is, where do you want to go? What does your future look like? What would be your intended future? If you were to write it out or document it or envision it, what would it look like? And you could pick a number of years down the road, 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, whatever. But what does life look like in some distant future? Mm-hmm. And I don't think if we can't articulate that, and it's really hard. This is a hard question. I ask people this all the time when we first start coaching, and one of the first elements is that we got to figure that out, because if we're going to create a strategy to get there, it's hard to create a strategy if we don't know, what the destination is. So it's similar to yours. It's what's the ceiling, meaning where is the roadblock to whatever this is. I might even suggest you do the ceiling exercise first, because if you can't identify the ceiling, where you want to go will be limited by the ceiling.
Right. Yeah, that's good. So your question is, where do you want to go? Yeah. And mine is where the ceiling. No, I think those are two very different ones, because this is what happened. Because very different. Because here's how it always plays out. Go to any room of salespeople. This is so cliche. How many of you want to make more money? Every hand goes up.
Oh, sure.
You play the fun game too. How many of you want to make $1 million in commission this year? Every hand goes up. How many of you will make $1 million? Some hands go up these days, but very few. Why don't all of you make $1 million? And then all the answers are external. And then all that is in there. So you do have to know. So let's all put down, we want to make $1 million. Then we have to figure out how to get there, but not how to get there tactically. We have to figure out first where our ceiling is first. That's right. Because some of us are tapping ahead or tapping at 200. Some are tapping at 600. Mm-hmm. How to get the person past 200 and how to get the person past 600 are different answers.
Absolutely.
But we're both on the way to $1 million.
Absolutely.
Fair? See that? Yeah. That's good. That's good.
And I would even say, and you kind of hinted at it somewhere in there, if I'm at 200 and I say I want to get to $1 million, do I really believe that is possible? And most of the time, well, if I believed it was possible, why have I been hovering around 150 to 180 in the last 12 years?
Yes.
I obviously do not believe it's possible. And I think we end up rushing to how are you going to get there? Well, you got to make 10x number of calls. No, that's not how you get there. But I think that the proper sequence is identify the ceiling, identify where you want to go, and then start talking about the beliefs you need to have in order to get there.
Yeah. And I think you said they rush to how, which I believe. I think they rush faster to the how, why you can't.
Yeah, true.
Faster to the impossibility.
Yeah.
To validate that it's not possible. Therefore, it can't be me. Because people don't want to believe it's themselves. No. That feels really gross and ugly. And, no, it's got to be something else.
It's external.
Got to be something else. Here's my next one.
Okay, go.
What is my true unique ability? To borrow a little Dan Sullivan. What is my true, and I'm adding true in there. What is my true unique ability? Unique ability, Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach would define that. I'll define it my way, is what do you love to do and what do you rock at? What do you love to do and what are you great at? And you should spend 80% of your time doing what you love to do and what you are great at. I was in the certification class last week, and it's so funny. We're working on this tool, installing this tool, and I was teaching them how I use this. And someone said, I said, well, I don't do to-do lists. So I do these productivity pods, one of the tool we teach. And I say, Christine does this. And everyone always says the same thing. They go, I need a Christine. Mm-hmm. Everyone says that. I need a Christine. I go, you know what my answer is? Get one. Get one. Christine is my virtual assistant, right? Not virtual. She's full-time. Right. They go, well, get one. So they don't value their time. I said, I value my time massively. I will pay people to do all sorts of things in my life that I don't see as valuable to me because it's not my unique ability. I pay people to mow my lawn because it's not my unique ability. Yeah. A lot, way more than I should. I pay a kid to do my expense reports, because I hate doing them. It's not my unique ability. And then people listen to what I pay the kid. He's a college kid. They go, you pay him that much money to do your expense reports? I'm like, yeah. They're like, it only takes 20 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but I hate to do it and I'm no good at it and it's frustrating and it's worth every dime. So it's about saying, what is my unique ability? Live there 80%. That's the question. Ask, what is my true unique ability and live there?
That also gets to the description you had there, which is what is my value? How do I value my time? And your unique ability is the highest value of your time, I presume, right? What you're really good at, you rock at, you're excellent. That should command the highest amount of per hour income. Is that the way you see it?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all these other things that we do because we don't have somebody else to do them rob us of the hours that we need to be spending in our unique ability.
That's it.
And it's hard. I know it's just 15 minutes here. It's an hour there. But those things all add up. And, I heard a guy the other day talk about, he said, what did you earn your first job? How much per hour did you earn your first job? Do you remember, Bryan, your first job, like high school, junior high?
$6.20.
Okay.
That was really, really high paying, actually. I drove a fork.
Yeah.
That was a big job in 1988.
Yeah.
$6.20 an hour.
When I was, I think a sophomore, I worked on construction and I made about $4 an hour lifting these railroad ties and all the creosote and building these retaining walls. And it's like, and I thought I'd gone to heaven because $4 an hour at that point. It's like, fast forward to today, and you don't have to give me your hourly rate. I won't give you mine, but it's multiple X's of that $4 or $6 an hour. Fair?
100%.
Yeah.
Exponential.
And so when you were making $6 an hour and somebody said, hey, at some point, I'm just going to pull a number out here. I'm not saying some point you'll be making $1,000 an hour. Your eighth grade person would probably say, oh, you're smoking something, man. You are weird. And so we've gotten there to this new income range. And by the way, I would take if you want to earn $1 million a year, decide how much that is per hour.
Yeah.
And start to assign the dollars so that when you get ready to do something, it takes a half hour of your time. You say, is this really going to be worth it? Because this is not $1,000 an hour stuff. It helps. I think it just helps us to realize that, oh no, we've progressed a long way, and we can also progress a long way forward from here.
We already have, like you said, that's the cool part. People don't realize they've already done this. They don't realize how far they've come already. Yeah. Is it it's 5,000, isn't it? Is that the number? Oh, it's 500. No, it's $500 an hour. Gives you $1 million a year. 2,000 hours a year. It's $500 an hour. Gives you $1 million a year. You put it that way, people are like, oh, that's it? Like, yeah. That's it.
Got to fill all the hours, though.
Got to fill the hours. You got to fill the hours. And that's 40 hours a week with 2 weeks of vacation.
Yeah.
But that's a great, it's not as much as people think to produce $1 million a year. All right.
Okay. I've got one more here. I'll do it real quickly because we're running out of time. The tape's about ready to run out. What skills must you acquire or leverage? And by leverage, I mean, what skills do you already have that you just don't use enough of? And what skills might you need to acquire in order to get to this number and to, build your strategy and help you get where you want to go from question number 2. So I think skills are a big part of things. I think we all have skill deficits that sometimes we're blind to. I know I do. And I think I'm good at a certain thing. And then I realize that the marketplace doesn't think I'm good at a certain thing because it doesn't pay me for it. And I have to go back and say, am I really good at that thing? No, I'm not so good. So skill leverage or skill acquisition, I think, is important.
Good one. Really, really good one. It's a good list.
Yeah.
A repeater. You need to listen to that one over and over. That's a thoughtful. You listen to that at a coffee shop with a notebook.
Yeah.
Write your answers.
And we'd like to hear, I know we have a lot of people in our LinkedIn group. We'd love to hear from you. Are there some questions that you ask yourself that maybe we've missed? There's thousands of questions you could ask yourself, but what's a reflective question that you ask yourself to determine where you're going and how you're going to get there and what the future of your life looks like? Let us know in the LinkedIn comments. That'd be awesome.
We've got hit us up too. We've refired up the old listener at advancedsellingpodcast.com email. So if you have a topic, we'd love to go back to our audience and ask for topics. Just send us an email, listener at advancedsellingpodcast.com. If you have any topic, any situation, we'll shout you out on the topic. So be famous to all your friends on the Caskey Advanced Selling Podcast.
With Bryan Neal. Yes.
With Bryan Neal. I'm like the guest host on the ones they show like on the trailer on Saturday Night Live. Like the people.
Right.
I'm the featuring guy.
Featuring Bryan.
One of these days, man. One of these days. All right.
Okay. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.